The presenting sponsor of Moon Tower Soccer is FVF Law.
To find out what makes FVF a different kind of injury law firm, you can visit fvf.law.
Hello friends, thanks for listening to Moon Tower Soccer. This week we cover the Austin FC news of the week, including a brand new player signing from today. That's right, a Monday. We got player news on a Monday. And we're also going to be joined by Moon Tower Soccer Games Master Marcelo Teson. He joins us for the return of the annual over-under prediction game. So we'll have that on the back half of the show. My name is Landon Cottom, and I'm joined as always by Mr. Jeremiah Bentley.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeremiah Bentley, and we've recorded the over-under show. I already feel bad about my picks. I feel like this is the same thing that's happened every year, so I'm not too worried about that. We talked about this last week on the show, but again, this is a reminder that on February the 13th, we're going to do a hangout and live show at the Amplify branch on Esperanza. The hangout will start at 6. We'll do some recording with some listener Q&A around 6:30. And we got news today that most of the tickets are gone, so we would love to have a full room. So follow the link in the show notes. Go there, sign up. We'd love to see you and hang out with you. And it should be a good time.
All right, let's jump into the Austin FC news of the week. And I think we can start off with the Moon Tower moment of the week, which is a new player signing. We got green smoke from Anthony Verde. We got green smoke from Anthony Verde Precourt. That's his new nickname. This, around noon or so. Usually when we get it that early, it means it's coming that day. So I was very encouraged by this smoke around lunchtime today. Then not long after that, Jeff Carlisle from ESPN tweets that Austin FC, reporting that Austin FC is going to be signing Diego Rubio, most recently of the Colorado Rapids. And then we get the official news not long after that. So Diego Rubio's Chilean, we'll call him a forward for now. We'll get into what that means here in a little bit. 9 caps for the Chilean national team. So not a mainstay there, but has had a cup of coffee with him a few times. Spent some time when he was younger at Sporting Club de Portugal and Valladolid in Spain, so some pretty big teams in Europe. Ended up at Sporting Kansas City as a designated player in 2016, was there for 3 seasons, traded to Colorado, and then spent 5 seasons with the Rapids. In 2022, he finished the season with 16 goals and 7 assists and was in MVP conversations for a while. That very clearly became Driussi and Mukhtar for the rest of that season. But he was in a different season. Those numbers might have you in higher up in the MVP race. Then in 2023, started off the year with a minor knee surgery, had a few other injuries, and he had some back trouble, had his ankle stepped on at one point, was limited to 13 starts and just 1,000 minutes. I think he still had 3 and 2, 3 and 4, something like that, goals and assists. And so not terrible for that number of minutes, but not anything close to what he saw in 2022. I know a lot of people might look at this and say, this is another 30-year-old striker who has injury problems, who had a good year a few years ago, but didn't have a good year last year. Why should we be excited about this one?
That's a very fair question, Sid. One thing I would say is that a few years ago was 2022, which is only one season past. And I believe the reason that this is not in the club press release, but this is the Jeff Carlisle reporting, the reason people should be most excited about it is this is a $350,000 contract. So this is a guy who has had a lot of success in the league, shows potential to score some goals, and also is not eating up nearly the salary that Giassi Zardes or Maxi Arruti occupied. So Austin gets a guy who could be a key contributor and also doesn't hamstring themselves from possibly making another big deal in the summer, if that's what Austin wants to do.
Absolutely. If Jeff Carlisle, the hero that he is, doesn't come through with that tweet today, I probably feel a lot different about this signing, because MLS is never going to announce what a player's salary is. But Carlisle seemed fairly confident that that's the number, $350K. Rubio was he's been on the free agent list. It's not a surprise that he was a free agent, but he was a guy I didn't give a ton of thought to whenever those lists came out, because I kind of assumed he would be too expensive. And we're talking about Danny Musovski, who we're kind of assuming if you sign him, that might be it, because we already have Giassi Zardes on the contract that he's on. if you sign a guy who's in like that TAM range, it's probably the last striker signing of the season. And I had Rubio in my mind in that category. The fact that he's going to be on, and we believe this is probably accurate, the 350K is probably an accurate number. On that low of a number, I really like this. Like, we could still realistically go after a star striker in the summer window or in this window. And like the Miguel Borja thing, if you're signing a really high, like a high number guy now, that probably goes out the window. But on 350K, like that's, I think 150K over what Will Bruin made last year. It's half the price of what Maxi Urruti made last year. So on this number, it does not close the door on another big name attacking player this summer.
Yeah, not at all. And I guess one thing I'm going to have to admit, maybe I'll be wrong again, but one of the things that we talked about with a player who was in Colorado last year, who had a down season, who Austin signed last year during the offseason, like with Jesse Zardes, like I was like, oh, well, he's had a long history and we can expect him to bounce back. And obviously that did not happen. But I feel like this is a little bit different profile because Rubio has a lot less mileage on him. His big season is a lot more recent than Zardes' last big season was, and he costs less than half as much.
Yeah, I think my biggest concern with him is this health factor. We saw Jossie Zardes have some injuries during his last season with Colorado, and he was clearly either age got him or the injuries got him, but he's not the same guy he was before then. It seems like Matt Hedges is kind of in danger of being in that same category where, yeah, he was good for Toronto even at the beginning of last year, but then had some injuries. We don't know if he's going to come back to be that same guy or not. Rubio could still be in that category, right? If he can't bounce back, like, why is he so cheap? Like, that part makes me a little hesitant too. You'd think a guy who, like, from reading reports out of Colorado, seems like wanted to stay there and maybe wasn't going to be able to because of the money thing. And if he's coming here for 350K, like, were we the highest bidder? Did he just really want to live in Austin? Like, why is a guy who scored so many goals 2 years ago coming here for 350K? That part worries me for sure. But again, because the salary number is so low, like, this does not hamstring us for the rest of the year necessarily. It might. We don't know. Again, we don't know the numbers. We don't know the salary numbers.
Yes, you are MLS experts.
But like, I could guess, like, it would be very realistic to still buy someone like Miguel Borja, like someone else for some big money. Like, this move isn't going to stop us from doing that.
Yeah, so let's talk about him as a player maybe now. The one thing I know about him is he's not afraid to take a shot, and I feel like that's probably good for Austin. I feel like Austin has a lot of guys that do seem to afraid to take shots. But what else beyond that can people expect to see about him in this game?
Yeah, so Matt Pollard, who writes about the Rapids, and he's been on the show before. Phil West talked to him for his article about Rubio, and it seems like from what Matt is saying that he's maybe going to fill like the vacant Felipe role as far as on-field antics, and maybe less as like a trash talking role, but more of like using the dark arts to gain competitive advantages. And so you hate playing against those guys. You like having those guys on your team if they do it well. So not mad about that. And Matt Pollard also said that that Diego Rubio is a guy who a little bit like Michael Jordan style likes to find motivation in haters. And so any of you who were talking trash about him on Twitter today, your name is on a list now. But as far as his playing style on the field, I like at his best, he does score goals, but he also creates a lot of chances for himself and for others. A lot of 2022 and then even in 2023, he was not playing as just a standalone striker. He would often be alongside another striker or behind a striker, playing almost as a 10 in kind of playmaking, or kind of somewhat in like Driussi's ideal role, where he is getting high, getting into the box, but dropping in sometimes and kind of connecting play as well. And so he can do all of that. And I kind of think like with his ability to dribble, with his passing vision, his movement off the ball, that there was a lot of talk last year about Driussi not being like an out and out traditional 10, and Gyasi Zardes kind of like getting in each other's way and trying to play in the same spaces sometimes. I feel like a guy like Diego Rubio might, like the way he likes to drop in, pull wide, make space, he might be like able to create space for Driussi to get a little further forward and not have the burden of creating all on him. He could maybe contribute to that part of it as well and get Driussi on the end of balls in the box a little bit more.
So this brings up the question, like, what do you think the breakdown is going to be between stars? Is Rubio your number one, considering everybody's healthy? Do you just like not consider Gyasi Zardes healthy as necessarily a regular consideration? Or like, where do you see the breakdown coming between those two? And so how many minutes each of the strikers get?
I think it's going to come down completely to who is the fittest, like who is the most match fit you're going today. Because like we know what Gyasi Zardes is at this point. Even when he's healthy, we know where his ceiling is, and it's lower than it was a few seasons ago. We're not quite sure what Rubio's ceiling is at this point. I think once we find that out, if it's anywhere close to what it was in 2022, I think he's the starter. But he's coming into a new team, new environment, coming off of injuries. So it might not be a super smooth start for him. But I do think it's just going to come down to who's healthiest. Okay, you're the guy.
Yeah, that seems to be the way, especially like you mentioned, like Rubio is such an unknown right now that it's going to take a little bit of time for anybody to see how that's going to work out. So, but still, regardless, it's like a net positive to the team. I think nobody wanted to go in the season with Gyasi, some random FC2 guy, and sort of combination of like Rigoni and Driussi maybe playing on a position. So like this is definitely an upgrade for Austin, even if it's not like the big picture move that everybody wants, but it does keep the flexibility, like we've said, for that move to maybe come in the summer.
How are you feeling about that? How confident are you that we will or can still make a move in the summer if we deem it necessary?
I'm confident that we can, just based upon what we've seen, but given our answers and over under, which we've already recorded, I feel like I'm less confident that we will than you are. Like I feel like Roto's playing the long game, and if the right guy at the right price isn't available in the summer, that this combination is good enough to make it through the year, and he would wait it out. And so I'm not counting. I would say less than 50% likely that we make this move during the summer.
Okay. I mean, I think another like optimist take would be like, okay, we get to the summer and Zardes and or Rubio are like looking pretty good, and we're sitting pretty, and like those guys are contributing, and maybe you say, okay, we don't need another striker. Let's use that spot for somewhere else. I don't know that I would put money on that outcome, but it's a possibility. And like whenever you bring in someone like Rubio who has performed in the league like this, I think the chances of something like that are higher than what a lot of people want to bring in Sebastian Pinot. Like I don't have a lot of faith in him to start MLS minutes, much less make a real contribution to the team. And so by bringing in someone like Rubio, who could be that third guy, if he hits, great. Maybe we don't need that other guy. But again, with that number, like it is still possible. But yeah, I don't know. Like was the like Miguel Borja bid that got turned down? Okay, Rubio's the replacement. Like, do you think that's what's happening? Or...
No, I don't think that's the case. I know there's a new sheriff in town, but I feel like there's so many times on the show over the years we've been like, this deal could work out because maybe they'll come back, or maybe the salary's right, or there's another move coming. Like I've just been burned so many times on that. I'm just a little more skeptical that that's going to come to pass. But also, Rodolfo Borrell's here to fix the sins of the past, so maybe it does this time.
You think you're saying that the Borja deal won't come to pass, or that this Rubio deal won't?
Oh, I mean, I'm sorry, just like my overall evaluation of the Rubio deal. Like I do not believe that the Borja deal will come to pass just because of the fact that he's killing it where he is now.
Yeah,
and I imagine the price goes up every week, and I don't know. And that's where I get to like, I think Roto will find the right guy, and I think maybe if he keeps playing the way he's played, that like he's going to be out of the market for what Austin is comfortable spending, and then therefore Austin won't sign a lesser player, but they will take the rest of the season to find a target in the winter window that fits what they're trying to do.
Yeah, that's possible too.
All right. Well, one thing we learned is that he was on. So the team's flying to California for the what is it? The Coachella Invitational or whatever it is. There'll be some preseason games over the next week, including one we get on the one on the 11th against the Galaxy will be streamed. So hopefully everybody will actually get to see some action. And Rubio was on the plane with the club. So obviously this deal's been in the works for a little while, but it's good to see him immediately getting his chance to integrate with the team.
Yeah, photos of him with the jersey with Burrell here in Austin at the training center. So he's been in town at least for a day or two, long enough to get those photos, and then jumped on a plane. So glad to see him getting integrated now. Other guys that we saw on the plane, I know there's some reports that CJ Fodre maybe had a little knock. He is on the plane. Hopefully that means it's nothing serious for him. Micah Burton was on the plane to Coachella. But that one was a little bit surprising to me. Just because from what we'd seen and heard, it kind of seems like his place is going to be with the second team this year. But if nothing else, just to get him kind of integrated with the team, more of like a team building, bonding exercise, if not actually seeing minutes on the field.
Yeah, one of the things about that is like we know who was on the plane based upon the pictures that Austin chose to show us.
Right.
But we don't know who was not on the plane. Like if there's like 9 FC2 guys that are on the plane and we happen to get one of Micah Burton, then I'm like, of course. But if he was like the only one that is, then that's a different story. That's why I try not to read too much into it. Although it's preseason and everybody gets excited about everything. Then I guess the other thing is we got an Instagram post of Driussi watching Borja play with excitement. Do you read anything into that?
I mean, you could read it as Driussi's a big River fan, and he's been scoring, so he's going to post about him. Or you could read it as Driussi's like either knows this guy's coming and is hyping him up, or he's putting pressure on the front office to give a higher bid. But I mean, I don't read a ton into it. I think it's probably the most likely thing is Seba is just a big River fan, and Borja's been scoring a bunch.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's probably the most likely thing too. And I feel like last year, I may get this wrong, but like when everybody was worried about Seba going to the Premier League, that he also posted like a video of himself watching a Premier League game, which got everybody up in arms, which we probably talked about too. So a little bit of it may
so
just
third
be like,
option, Seba's a troll.
Exactly. Maybe Seba's just an Instagram troll and loves it because he knows this is what's going to happen anytime he posts anything. So now, I mean, it doesn't seem like a very busy offseason, but Austin has made, 4 offseason moves now? Like first-team players?
I think that's right. Guilherme Biru, Micah Burton, Jader Obrian, and now Diego Rubio. Is that everybody?
And Steph Cleveland. I wasn't counting Micah since he was, I was thinking like players that brought in. So there's 4, and what I thought it might be fun to spend a little bit of time doing is sort of like spending a couple minutes going through like each one of those and whether Austin got better or worse, depending upon, those moves. So I think, let's start with Obrian. So I think Obrian most directly replaces Rodney Redis. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, who played the most minutes outside of like Rigoni and Finley last year? Would it be Rodney?
I think it.
As far as like playing on the wing?
I think it would be playing on the wing.
Hold on, I can tell you right now. Yeah, I mean, if you're not counting Diego Fagundes and like Owen Wolf maybe played a few games out wide, Rodney Redis is the next highest minute earner, and I think all of his minutes came at the wing at 482 minutes. So, yeah, I mean, I'll call that an upgrade for sure. Like, if your third string winger is Rodney Redis and you upgrade to Jader Obrian, who had 11 goal contributions last year, yeah, I'll take that.
All right, awesome. Then let's go. I think this is another obvious one. So let's go the keeper. I think Cleveland's obviously an upgrade over
Bersano, absolutely.
Yeah, Bersano,
over Loss,
sure.
Probably still. Yeah. Like that might not be true a year from now, like Steph Cleveland a year from now and Damian Loss a year from now. Maybe that's not true anymore. Right now, I'll take Cleveland over Loss.
All right, then Biru. So what full Well, I guess it would be Beru versus Nick Lima would be the fullback that went out, right? Because that's how Austin became thin at that position. I don't think I know enough to have an opinion on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the upside is higher with Beru, but again, this is a guy who's never left Brazil. This is going to be his first time leaving home, first time coming to MLS, adapting to a new league. So I think the jury's still out. I think at worst, just from what we've seen of him, it feels like a sideways move, but I think the upside is there for this to be an upgrade.
Yeah, the upside's there because he's younger, and you have to, in some way, in these moves, like the GAM that Nick Lima brought in was redeployed to something, and we don't know what that something is just because of the way it works. And then the fourth one, I guess, would be Rubio versus Maxi.
I call this an upgrade. Like, even if Rubio's even kind of healthy for most of the year, like the fact that he's on half the money and like the best goal contribution year Maxi has ever had was still just like 12 or something, right? So like I call this an upgrade. Maybe I'll be proven wrong if Rubio does not fully recover from his injuries last year, but if he does at all, I think it's a clear upgrade.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I guess I find it, Austin's a better team right now than they were at the end of 2023. I don't think there's a lot of doubt. I mean, they were really bad at the end of 2023, so it's a really low floor. But, given sort of the players, I've looked at the other players who went out. I mean, there's no, Lundqvist, Memo Rodriguez, there's nobody that really, there was no holes created by the players who were not retained, and there's additional roster flexibility from them going out. So, I think it's been a decent offseason so far, given what the sporting director has to work with.
What I'll add here, though, is all of the guys we just named that these were replacements for were guys who probably should not have been starting or getting a lot of minutes anyway.
True.
And so the way I'm looking at it is O'Brien, Diego Rubio, Steph Cleveland. It's like we've brought in a much stronger bench. And so our would-be depth is stronger, except for we don't have that many players. And so if we can bring in someone who is better than O'Brien, who pushes him or Finley or Rigoni to the bench, if we can bring in someone who will be the starter at striker and pushes these guys to the bench, then I say this is we're a much better team. But if these guys end up being the best players, then I still don't have super high hopes for this year.
We're a better team, but still not very good.
Right. Yeah. We're better than a terrible team we were last year. And we filled some holes, but also still have holes.
Yeah. I think then it comes down to can Drew UC somehow refine 2022? Does everybody stay healthy? It becomes a lot iffier proposition on this team being successful, but I don't just thinking back on it today. It's a good start to the offseason without splashing a lot of cash or doing a lot of things that limit the flexibility of the team to do other things in the summer.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I'll hold my verdict until these other spots are filled and we get to see what they get filled with. But some good moves, but not enough yet.
Yeah, I think that is a perfect summary of it. So let's take a break, and then we'll come back with some other Austin FC news. No one is around.
Twin Tower Soccer is brought to you by our friends at FVF Law, the official injury lawyers of Austin FC.
FVF is a different kind of personal injury law firm dedicated to community, transparency, and client education.
You can go to FVF.law to find out what makes FVF a different kind of injury law firm and why understanding your legal options can dramatically change the outcome of a case. Once again, that's FVF.law. Amplify Credit Union is a member-owned financial cooperative that serves the needs of Central Texans for over 5 decades. Amplify's team lives and works in the community, making them the experts on how members can achieve their financial goals.
What makes Amplify different? No bank fees. Amplify is the first financial institution in Texas to put an end to bank fees. In 2022, Americans paid almost $8 billion in overdraft fees alone. Millennials pay an average of $336 a year in bank fees, which works out to 6 Austin FC game tickets per person per year. You'll pay none of those bank fees with the Amplify Credit Union.
Amplify is also opening some space up for us to do our live recording on February 13th. So again, check out that link in the show notes. And thanks to Amplify for offering that space to us. Amplify membership is open to any Texas resident. Learn to trust your bank again at Amplify Credit Union. To learn more, go to www.goamplify.com/moontower.
And Moon Towers Soccer is brought to you by our premier sponsor, McGuire Consulting, helping clients in the public affairs space from lobbying at the local, statewide, and federal levels to digital and communications campaigns across the country.
McGuire Woods Consulting has offices in 10 MLS cities, but only advertises on this podcast because it's the home of the two-time reigning Copa Tejas champions, which is the most important trophy in professional sports. Contact our friends at McGuire Woods Consulting at mwcllc.com for more information. All right, we are back. We're going to talk through a few other pieces of Austin FC news. Let's start off with Josh Wolf's media availability last week. I was able to go and ask a couple of questions. Watching the footage back or reading articles about it, what was it? What were the things that stood out to you, Jeremiah?
I mean, I think the big theme on me that was interesting was just Josh Wolf talking about defense, which is not something we hear a lot of conversation about, all the way back to the first time we interviewed Brad Stuver when he talked about the keeper being the start of the offense and like valuing players like Julio Cascante. So him talking about the defense, the way it was last year, the strong emphasis on it in the first couple of weeks of training. He said, I don't look at the attacking being the problem. I look at the defending being the problem. The individual defending last year was shocking at the end, and our group defending was shocking. And that was, I just read the quote. Like, was it that straightforward? Like, was there any other context?
No.
Okay.
This one reads about the same as it sounded in person.
Okay.
Which, I mean, he's right, but I think the offense could probably use a little work too. But he's right that the defense was really bad. Yeah, it was interesting to hear him say that, like, the offense is fine. We're going to focus on defending, which, I mean, if he's doing that, great. Like, if we can be a more defensive team. We're going to talk about this Louisville City friendly here in a second. I don't know how well it's working yet, but if they're going to emphasize defense this season, I think that's a good thing. But I think he should also recognize that there's maybe a few things still kind of broken with the offense as well. Something else that stood out to me, and this is a question I wanted to ask him, and I think the one before was like before training, and they had all this other stuff going on, and so the time was super tight. They were a little bit more flexible this time and let folks kind of ask as many questions as they wanted. And one of the questions I asked was, how many of the Austin FC 2 players could you realistically see ending up with a first team contract? And his answer was essentially like, I'm not closing any doors. If these guys blow us away in preseason, then yeah, we're open to that idea, but I do not expect that to happen. And he said it in a way where it's like, I don't expect any of these guys to get a first team contract.
Yeah, and I took that too. That seemed pretty direct.
And part of my follow-up question was asking about the international roster spots. And he said, like, that absolutely affects that decision. And so we're going to talk about Val Noel. I think are all of the guys, Austin FC 2 guys who are getting minutes with the first team, if you think Val Noel, Check Torre, Sal Mazzaferro, who else am I missing here?
Pinot. Do you want to include him? Yeah.
Alonso Ramirez. I don't remember where he's from, but he's probably not one that's getting looked at for an actual first team spot. But of the guys who are maybe good enough to earn themselves a supplemental spot, I think all of them are internationals. And so Wolf said, like, yeah, that absolutely changes the equation. And so, I mean, I was thinking like maybe one or two of these guys gets a spot. The way Wolf's talking about it, maybe none of them will.
Maybe, yeah, I think that was interesting to think about when we talked about that last week about how many there might be, and to hear this sort of really contradictory statement from the coach before is pretty meaningful. Let's talk about, I guess we'll get into the Damian loss. We last week we talked about his signing and wondered if he would get minutes, and now all of a sudden he's much more likely to get them because the German keeper they had last year.
Oliver Simley. I don't know how you say his last name, but
yeah, got traded. His rights got traded to the Philadelphia Union, and he may indeed figure into the first team plans for Philadelphia for 2024, which means that there's a open spot for Damian Loss to play a lot, which makes sense. And I think Josh talked about knowing the Louisville City coach, and so it seems like there was a connection there in some way.
They knew that this was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Like they weren't sending Loss on like, good luck, buddy. They're like, they knew there was going to be a vacuum there for Loss to likely go in and fill. And Damian Loss ended up playing in the second half in the friendly against Louisville City. I wouldn't going to be surprised if he didn't play at all, just because like he literally, like, he did not go to Louisville beforehand. They came to Austin and are essentially like picking him up and taking him with them on their way home. And so probably didn't get a chance to train with them at all. And they still threw him in the second half and played with him. So I think that says that, like, yeah, they do have plans to actually use him if they're throwing him in without ever having trained with the team. But I can't imagine it was a comfortable experience for Damian.
Yeah, I think everything the description I saw that I think was like the most fitting was like when a divorced couple has a kid and like dad drops a kid off McDonald's, right? And
I think,
has like a Happy
Phil
Meal
West was
in the playland. Yeah, and passes it off to mom, and like Brad Stuver, I think, was dad in this moment with the photos we saw. So yeah, Damian's gonna go home. We still love Damian. He's just gonna have to live with somebody else for a little while.
So this friendly against Louisville City, this was at Q2, behind closed doors, not at St. David's. So again, Q2's walls are bigger than our hill. So no sneaking eyes outside of the stadium, but they did welcome sponsors, like club sponsors, into this. And so there are quite a few eyes, and so quite a bit of information was getting out one way or another. So we were watching the North End on social media, We Are Austin TV on social media, and then we were getting some direct reports ourselves as well. So not as much information as if we were watching the whole game, but we got a decent idea of at least like the shape, who was playing where, who started, and all of that from these games. It ended up 3-3. This was still mixed 11s. By some accounts in the stadium, Louisville City played probably like a starting 11 in the first bit and then put in some younger guys later on. And then at least one of the goals came from, I saw a couple of conflicting reports, but it was like an errant pass from either Mazzaferro or what is the trialist name?
Antonio Gomez. I don't even remember. Yeah.
An errant pass from one of those that led to one of the goals in there. So, like, I mean, we always say don't read too much into preseason games. I would say, especially in these preseason games where we're starting guys who are almost certainly not ever going to play MLS minutes, who are going to spend most of the time with the MLS Next Pro, I would say, like, that's several grains of salt you can add to this result. That being said, you would prefer that to not matter, and just like the few MLS players in the field could still beat Louisville City. So again, like, not the result we would want to see, but it also probably doesn't mean anything. Val Noel scored one of the goals here. I think was it the third goal, the second goal? I don't remember, but
it's the second goal, because O'Brien scored the first goal, Noel scored the second, Giassi scored the third. So clearly the attack force is in prime condition.
Valentin Noel was a long distance shot. And I think technically, I don't know how particular they're being in these preseason games, but technically I believe this should be a Damian Loss own goal, because Val hits the post from long distance. Loss dives wide for it and it beats him, but then it bounces off the post, off of Loss's back, and then back into the goal. So I believe technically it would be an own goal. Either way, great strike from Val Noel. Jackson Walty, former Pitt teammate of Val Noel, former Austin FC 2 teammate of Val Noel, was on Twitter hyping up his guy and making a case for him to get a first team contract with Austin FC based on his performance with the first team so far. I love that he's backing up his guy here and trying to get him that contract. I don't know if I buy his case all that much, but like, Val Noel's played like 100 some odd minutes against not MLS competition with mixed first teams and has looked pretty good from what we've seen. Do you think that like nails him on that he absolutely deserves a first team contract now?
Well, first of all, I'm really glad that you noted this Jackson Walty thing because that was also my favorite part of the whole campaign. But gosh, man, I mean, remembering how good Danny Houston and Rodney Redis have been in previous preseasons, no, I don't think that the results in the games provide any indication of that. Hopefully, although from Josh's comments, this is not the case. Like what he's doing day to day in practices is what's going to matter more than anything, right? The way he looks in training, whether he looks and fits in or not, is going to be a whole lot more relevant than whatever happens during these like mixed 11 friendlies. It would be a good story if he did. I think everybody loves the guy and is pulling for him, and it's a little bit unfortunate that this international roster slot thing seems to be a thing is really holding him back because it feels like otherwise that's a high potential, low risk player to add to the club and just see if he can contribute in minutes. And he's really being held back by these roster restrictions.
Yeah, I mean, if it weren't for the international roster spot, I would be campaigning for him to get a supplemental roster spot. But those things are valuable. It's like, I think the way you could look at it is the value of an international roster spot. They've gone for $250K in the last few years pretty regularly. Let's say, okay, we're going to pay a $250,000 transfer fee or trade $250,000 in allocation money to get a supplemental roster spot player. Like when you look at it that way, it's like, that seems like a bad idea. And that would be essentially what it is. Like it's use this roster spot on a higher profile player or use it on this supplemental roster spot guy. And like, it sucks that that's the reality, but it is. And it seems like it's likely to keep him out of getting that first team spot.
Yeah, that's too bad, but I think you're right. It's quite likely true. What else do we have? We got two other quick bits of news, then we can get to the interview. We get to Over Under with Marcelo. One is we got official news of the kit launch party. It's on February 15th at ACL Live. Doors open at 6. Show begins at 6:30. I think you have to enter you don't just show up. You have to enter a lottery or something to get tickets in order to be able to get in. But the exciting part is it'll be out, and we'll hopefully get confirmation of what we expect the kit to be. And then we also got the Leagues Cup group stage announcement for Austin. This came on last Wednesday. Austin was drawn with Monterrey and Pumas, which seems really good if you're a fan of Liga MX and you want to see good teams play. It seems really bad if you're interested in seeing Austin succeed.
Yeah, I agree. I think part of my approach to this year, and I'll show my hand a little bit now, but I'm sure we'll get into it in the over-under part and then in future shows. But I don't have super high hopes for Austin FC in the beginning of this year. And so in a tournament like this, I think I'm going to approach it with we're not supposed to win. If we win, that's great. But in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy watching these really good teams play against my team and just like getting to watch these people, hopefully in person. We don't know where these games are going to be yet. It looks like the higher seeds in this tournament are going to get to, like the Mexican teams specifically, because they don't have a quote unquote home stadium here. They're going to get to kind of pick a hub. And so these higher seeded teams are not going to be traveling as much. And so Austin FC could host if they pick Austin as their hub, but we could be traveling to wherever else. Like maybe we don't get a home game in these. So that'll be interesting to see. But I am like excited to watch. Like, I mean, Monterrey is stacked. It's a really good team. We get to watch these guys in person and kind of stack them up against this team that we know really well. Although the result might not go our way, I think it'll be a fun thing to watch.
Yeah, I think it's what the attitude that we should all have is just take a chance to see some really high quality players. And Austin was a really high seed and played a couple of teams that everybody thought was really bad last year and looked terrible. So it's the magic of the cup. If it's being shown out here, maybe Austin somehow overplays this year what everybody's expectations is.
It's the laminator factor.
Yes, let's do that again. All right, I think that kind of covers it for now. Let's take a break, and then we'll have Marcelo join us for a game. Moon Tower Soccer is brought to you by Sage Wilson Realty. The Sage Wilson Realty team is made up of Austin experts who are client-focused and have over 30 years of combined real estate experience.
If you or someone you know are in need of Sage real estate advice in Austin, talk to our friends at Sage Wilson Realty. Be sure to check them out online at sagewilson.com.
Moon Tower Soccer is also brought to you by Covert Ford. The Coverts have been meeting the needs of local car buyers for 115 years because of their service, financial expertise, and support after the sale.
In addition to supporting car buyers, Covert's an important part of the soccer community and the official automotive partner of Austin FC.
This week, we'll again talk to you about a 2023 Ford F-150 XLT, stock number 2231529. You can have this for $13,107 off MSRP or 2.9% APR for 72 months. With approved credit, not all buyers will qualify. See the website for details.
If you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, be sure to check out covertford.com. All right, we are back, and we are thrilled to be joined by the Moon Tower Soccer Games Master, Marcelo Teson. Marcelo, thanks so much for putting this together for us. Again, we thank you every time you're on the show because it means we have to do less prep work. However, it does put us under a little bit of pressure because we have not seen the questions you're about to ask us. So if you want to give the listeners a bit of an overview about what they're about to experience.
Sure. Thanks for having me, everybody. It's so great to be back here. Long off season. Very happy to be back because it means we're about to start the season again. Okay. So it's very easy to talk about stats like how many goals are we going to score? How much are we going to get scored on? How many wins and losses and that kind of. But sometimes for me personally, like there are more storylines in a lot of this stuff. Then and this game is a really great way to follow a season, keeping in mind some of the other storylines that might be in it. For example, last year we had Rodney Redis goals witnessed by the public, and that was the storyline. Will he score? And it was really cool when he did, and we were able to follow that and incorporate that into the over-under game. So what's going to happen is I've got 22, so it is possible to tie. 22 lines that are I'm going to give a number. And you're going to pick either the over or the under as a prediction. And these are all things that in concert with some of the members of the Los Verdes Slack, in concert with Long Cow, who's the great stat master himself, we have come up with these lines. But during this conversation, we may choose to change it. And I was just saying before we started recording that the news of Diego Rubio actually has like muddied the waters on like 5 of these.
Yeah,
of that.
Awesome.
So maybe there may be some adjustments needed. So
that's fine. It's never stopped us before.
No. All right, so let's dive right in. I want to thank everyone who contributed lines in a Slack channel, and all people who came. A bunch of people came up with some really good ones, and there was some really, really good stuff. So here we go. The first one, goals against scored against us in MLS from 75 minutes onward.
Oh man.
So
do you have a number from last year?
Game. I do have the numbers. Long gave you the numbers. We actually led the league in goals scored against us. We had 17 goals scored against us after 75 minutes. 18 if you include the minute 75 itself. So I assume it's going to be lower. I have to hope and pray to. So I have set this line at 13.5, a little lower, because our defensive line hasn't changed.
That's true. I don't remember how we've done this in the past. Does one of us have to say first before the other one goes, or we just say whatever whoever thinks of an answer first?
I mean, I encourage you to go in different directions because that keeps the contrast good. Because if you all pick the same thing every time, that's it. But like every now and then you guys will pick the same thing. So, and if we want to lower the line, we can. I have it currently at 13.5.
And it was 14 last year?
It was 17 last year.
17. Oh,
I'm giving a little breathing room for it to.
No, it's a good line.
Yeah.
Regression to the mean, as
exactly.
they say, which everybody has their own definition of. All right, I will start this off and go with over.
Okay.
On that.
Len, are you brave to take the under?
Yeah, I'll take the optimistic under on this one. Again, taking into consideration regression to the mean, and then hopefully just being having more than one healthy center back on the roster will help that number.
Okay. So we've got a split already. This is gonna be great. All right. Line number 2 starts by Matt Hedges any game.
Okay.
By Matt
What's your line
Gotcha.
there?
Yeah. I have it at 9.5. And I have that at 9.5 because of there were injuries last year. I was looking at like how the different starts of different players, and I have that at 9.5. If we want to change that, we can.
I'm going to say over on that one. I think that's an easy over for me.
Oh, really? Because I was under the starter.
No, I'm also going over on that. I don't think he's like the ever game starter, but I think there's going to be enough competitions that seems like a line that he will and injuries. That seems like a line that he will crush.
I think everybody's a starter this year.
All right, so he's going to start 10 games or more. Okay. All right, I have this one even more optimistic. Starts by Valencia any game, and this was interesting to me because in the second half of the season, Wolf was giving him a little bit more of a run situationally. So I have this line set at 16.5, which is half the games.
No, I'm saying under on this one.
Okay.
I think with again praying that center backs are healthier this season and just more existent this season. We do have more of them than we've had in the past. I think that will mean Alex Ring will have to play less on the back line. And it seems like what we've seen from preseason so far that Alex Ring and Valencia are more or less playing the same position. And so I kind of think Alex Ring is going to get the lion's share of those starts. Could be wrong, though.
Yeah, I will also go under, and I know the look of disappointment on Marcelo's face when we agree. And I want it to be want it to be more. We may talk
lower the line so there's a real contrast.
No, I don't think we should. We're going to go with what we have here. I was just going to say, like, I feel like he's shown himself in the preseason to be the vibes guy, and I want like one of the vibes guys, and I want that guy to play more. But I just don't see where the opportunities are for him to do that.
We're also, when we pick the same thing, I don't think we said this yet, but we're going to share a link out for listeners to participate in this. And so we're setting differentiators for listeners to overtake us when we pick the same thing.
The person who got the lowest score told me that they did it specifically by picking the opposite of Jeremiah. So we'll see.
Seems like a solid strategy. I can't be mad at that person.
All right. Here now we're going to get into some salty ones here. 9.5 Emiliano Rigoni MLS goal contributions.
Contributions, not goals, contributions.
Goals and assists. And I believe that this is his number from last year.
9.5?
Or like 9 or 10.
I think he was at like 11 or so last year. Okay. I could be wrong. Actually, I have it pulled up
9.5 was the line we set for goals, which both of you said over. That's
5 goals, 6 assists last season.
Oh, 11. So let's raise this to 10.5 then.
Don't remind us how wrong we were last year, Marcelo. There's no need to do that on the show.
Or will he maintain or be better?
Jeremiah, what do you have?
I think he'll be better. I'm going to go over.
Yeah, I'm not going to contradict you here. I'm going to go over as well.
You guys, you're not fun.
We're optimists, Marcelo.
Okay. All right. Well, here's the next optimism bit. Jader Obrian MLS goal contributions. I have this set at 9.5 as well because my thought was better or worse than Rigoni, that kind of thing. But I feel like now you guys are both going to go over. So if that's the case, I'd like to move this line. Get some tension.
Yeah, this does test our optimism at a certain point because if we keep giving the over, at some point we're winning the league, right? So.
Right, like they're both going to have 10 or more goal contributions.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm probably more optimistic on Obrian than I am on Rigoni.
Okay, so do you want to go under on Rigoni and over on Obrian?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll make that a trade. I'll change to under on
retroactive.
Rigoni. I'm going to say over on Obrian.
Okay. And how about you, Jeremiah?
Look at you. You just created controversy, Marcelo. Good job. Because I am more optimistic on Rigoni. So I will go under on Obrian and stay over on Rigoni.
It's happening.
All right. That's what I want to see, that clash. There will be a form in the show notes that people can look at, and I have to enter in what Landa. I have to look at what Landon and Jeremiah actually entered into things. So you'll be able to see what they picked and then make your own picks. And I believe the winner gets a prize this year.
Yes, I don't
TBD.
think did we decide what that is? It's going to be a Moon Tower soccer themed prize to the winner. Was that what we decided, Jeremiah?
That's all we've decided so far.
Some type of merch or something.
This next one's just a little bit fun. 1.5 All-Stars from Austin FC, and that includes people like Loss who go to Goalie Wars, etc. So last year technically would have had 2 because of Gallagher and Loss competing in Goalie Wars. So I set the line at 1.5 All-Stars from Austin FC.
Oh man.
And you don't know what they're going to do.
We also, I mean, I guess like if someone's going to be an all-star, they're probably not coming in the summer window either. And so it's probably someone who's already on the team, like chances are. I'm going to say under.
Okay.
I think
I'm also going to say under. I feel like the Goalie Wars competition from last year seems like a thing that they would not look for repeat performers in. And then,
well, if Lost isn't playing in Next Pro either, then it would have to be
that's true.
Like back to back by different players.
Goalie Wars or something.
Who knows?
USL Goalie Wars.
USL Goalie Wars. Yeah, that kind of synergy will happen. Okay. This one comes from Phil West, and it's based on last year as well, or previous seasons. It's a high number, 15.5. Oh, that's a lot. Maybe you want to lower this. Austin FC players with at least one regular season MLS goal.
15? That does seem high. Let's
lower that. Should we do 9.5? Will it be 10 or more?
I mean, we had 15 goal scorers last year.
That's why he said it. 15 goal score. We had 15 goal scorers last year. So he's saying, let's do 14.5. Same or fewer. And we didn't. If we do better, maybe we'll.
Oh man, what was it in 22? So in 2022, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Only 13 in 2022.
Okay. So this is a common range here. Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll set it at 13.5.
Okay, I think that's a better line.
Yeah. 13.5. Austin FC players with at least one goal.
I will go over that line.
I'll go under. I'm going to say under and say, okay, in 2023, we had more goal scorers, but fewer goals. I'm going to predict that we have maybe a more stable set of players going in. Maybe this is dumb now that I'm saying it out loud, but I'll take the over.
Everything. Got it. All right.
Goals,
We're going into a pessimistic line here. 1.5 non-MLS tournament wins. Open Cup, Leagues Cup.
That's all this year, right?
Yeah. Do we win more than one of these games?
We got a rough draw for Leagues Cup, right? So 2 Mexican Giants in that one. Open Cup could still be, and Open Cup's still kind of up in the air too. So we don't actually know who's going to be playing in that one.
I'll say this: if Open Cup, if they actually do relent and FCito plays an Open Cup instead of this, we will count those wins.
Yeah, but then are they going to win if FCito plays? I like having that in the wager there, though. It makes it interesting. Jeremiah, what do you have?
We only won one.
What's that? I don't won like this year.
We didn't know we won 2 because we beat Violet on the return, but we didn't win everyone.
And we beat New Mexico.
Yeah, those are the 2 wins.
Yeah.
So,
but there's one fewer competition, right?
Yeah, right.
Because there's no CCL or whatever that is now.
CCC.
I gotta stay. I'm gonna go under again. I hate this. Like I think there are many, many reasons to be mad at Josh Wolf, but like the weird cup performances are not on the list. So I hate for them to fail again, but they are set up to fail again.
I'll take the over on it. We're gonna get an upset somewhere. We're gonna beat, who is it? Pumas, and who's the other team? Monterrey?
Monterrey, yeah.
Okay. Make that a soundbite. We're gonna beat Pumas and Monterrey. Okay, this next one comes from the Wolf Out group, who specifically were ranting about the League's Cup draw and how bad it was. All right, and they're like, we're gonna get steamrolled by the League's Cup draw. So this is League's Cup goals against in the group stage. And I had the folks at Wolf Out set the line at 5.5.
And it's just one game apiece, right? Against
one game apiece. Do we get scored on more than 5 times?
No, I'll take the under on that. You said 5.5 or is it 5?
5.5.
Yeah, I'll take the under.
I'm going to take the under too.
Okay.
And we haven't really talked that much about Leagues Cup. I don't know if we've talked about it at all, but is that in the show notes for this week, Jeremiah?
Yes, the bracket came out last week or this past week, and so it's in the show notes. So we could do that in a little bit. Or
yeah, I'll save it for then.
Maybe
I'll
in the
save
past,
my thoughts
also
for that
depending
part.
upon how you edit this together.
So Landon and Jeremiah, official Josh Wolf believers and stands.
I didn't say anything
do
about
not.
Josh Wolf.
We're gonna be a wall of defense in the League's Cup. They're not gonna be able to score on us. Okay.
I would hardly say 5 goals is a wall of defense.
Over 2 games. So if we win like 4-3 or some crazy number or something like that, we could still win some games and get scored on a lot if we also score.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Now we come to the first line that was made murky by the signing of Diego Rubio, which is open roster spots at the beginning of the season. Senior and supplemental.
Senior and supplemental. What is the number now? And who are we counting?
I believe it's 7.
Are you counting like
with Rubio? It was 8.
It was included in this.
It was 8 before Rubio. Like I counted the seniors. There was a list on Slack, and I counted like seniors and who's on the first team, who gets the second team contract versus first team contracts, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't count loss on loan. I'm
guessing Musa Gite has an open spot for him as well. We're not counting like guys who are out on loan or anything
correct.
like that.
We're not
Those
counting
are
guys.
open
We're counting like the roster as turned into MLS at the start of the season.
That drops us down to just 2 senior spots, though, right, Jeremiah?
2 senior spots and 5, I believe, supplementals.
That sounds right.
Okay, so sorry, remind me of
the line is at 5.5. So I'm asking you, are we going to get 2 more players, even supplemental players?
Yeah, we are. Whatever.
So under for you, because there'll be fewer spots left.
Yeah, I say we make some supplemental signings in this first window.
Jeremiah?
I will agree. I will go under this one too.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see both of these senior spots staying open for the summer, but I think you almost have to sign some supplemental spots.
Is there a line where that would be more interesting then? Like 2.5, so we keep the senior spots open, but do we have another supplemental spot open? Do we have 3 spots open?
I think maybe is 3.5 the most interesting?
0.5. Do you want to? Let's reconvene at 3.5.
I still would say we'll have fewer than 3.5. I think it will be 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the same actually.
So it didn't change our answers, Marcelo.
That's fine, but I think now people might be a little like roto skeptics might be like he's going to leave it bare. So you don't know. All right. This is based on last year's stats. MLS yellow cards for Danny Pereira, 8.5.
I was really hoping this one would come up.
What was his number last year?
Somewhere either 8 or 9.
Oh, this is 2022 up still. Let me change to 2023. He had 8. I'm going to say under. And if preseason is anything like what we're going to see for the rest of the year, if Danny is playing a slightly more advanced role as that kind of dual 10 8 position, maybe he'll be forced into fewer moments where he has to make last ditch tackles and things like that.
I feel like we've agreed too much lately, so I'm going to go over here. I feel obligated to disagree.
That's the best kind of disagreement. That's the best kind of reason to choose over and over under is for the lulls.
Exactly. Good luck to that person who picks against me every year.
All right, here we go. Here's some fun ones. 2.5 teenagers defined as people under 20 who play minutes for the first team in any competition.
Oh, and the Open Cup makes this interesting as well.
Yeah. Teenagers that play minutes for the first team any competition. So Owen 19, he's 19, right?
Yeah, he'll still be a teen through this whole season.
I counted him in there. I'm thinking maybe one Burton appearance somewhere. And then will there be another teenager?
Those are the only ones with contracts at the moment, right?
Oh, but they could appear.
Oh, CJ.
They could
CJ.
appear in an FCTO emergency supplement or on the Open Cup in any way they want.
How old is CJ?
CJ is 19, but he turns 20 in a week.
Okay, so no appearances for him as a teenager. And that was the make or break for me. I'm going under.
Let's make it into 1.5.
Okay, that makes it much harder.
1.5. Will we see?
Because Owen's a lock. One's happening.
Yeah, Owen's a lock.
Will another one make an appearance? This is tough. Jeremiah, what do you got? I'll take the opposite of you on this one.
I'll take the over on this one.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to do. I'll take the under, but I could see late in the season or like one of these super congested midweek things, or if like the youngsters end up playing an Open Cup, because Micah is on a first team contract, I don't know that he would even necessarily be like, this is the best guy to step in here, but just it doesn't cost us anything for him to step in here, and maybe they throw him some minutes.
Okay. All right. So just to be clear, Landon, you're taking the under. Jeremiah, you're taking the over. I want to make sure that's right. All right. This one, you can't really do much with you just got to guess. 2.5 groin injuries. Defined as taking a player out of at least one game. I believe we had 3 groin demon.
Only 3? It felt like so many more.
It seems very low.
We had, I was remembering Ring, Driussi, and I believe Cascante.
I think that's right.
Let me ask another question then. What if somebody's groin keeps them out on multiple different occasions?
Oh, no, yeah. Groin player injury. So that's one. That's still one. But
okay, so because I feel like Ring went out and came back and then went out again, right? Yeah. So, but he would only count as one.
Well, okay. I'll say this: if they come back and then go back out, we'll count that as a separate.
Okay, I'm going over.
Wait, what was the line again?
2.5.
2.5. I have to go over if we're counting multiples.
Okay, maybe I shouldn't have done that. That's fine. That's fine. You guys gave me some good. This is the clashiest over/under we've had so far. This is great.
Good. Glad
Another one, just for fun, 2.5 weather delays at Q2.
Oh, no.
We had, I believe, 2, if not maybe 3 last year. So
those were miserable, by the way.
Just in case you don't remember.
Really? Even that Galaxy one?
My favorite thing about it is that the whoever is in charge of the music there plays like alternative early 90s hits.
The second one they played some jams in the second one.
Alive by Pearl Jam. Yeah. Everyone was going like, I'm staying alive, like to get like all together. Like dads were telling their children, this is Pearl Jam.
This is Jeremiah's workout playlist. It's amazing. Yeah.
I am gonna say, Jeremiah, what do you have? I'll take the opposite of you here.
I'm gonna go under here.
Okay, I was gonna take the under. That was my instinct. I'll take over.
Okay. This one's fun because I know the guy who works next to me here sometimes is a camera operator at Austin FC games, and I asked him, "Do you know the guy who plays the music during the weather?" Because like if you do, just tell him that they're doing a good job.
Did he?
No. But he was running the replay booth when that one goal that was clearly past the line that they
Yeah.
disallowed. And he was running the booth. He's the one that on the Jumbotron went back and forth and back and forth. And he says to him that was 100% a goal.
Oh, what a hero for putting it on the screen there.
Yeah, that was his. All right, here's a fun one for me. Again, another one put into a cloud by Diego Rubio, who is 30. Average age of our strikers at the end of the season, 31.5.
Wait, how old is Jossie now?
So I set this line based on the average of Giassi, Maxi, and Will Bruin. And so
So Giassi will be 33 at the end of the season because his birthday's in September. And Rubio will be 31.
In May is
so
when
that's
he-
31.
May.
That's 32-ish.
So we're already over. So we would need to be
Oh yeah. But okay,
If we
here's my
it's still not bad though, because if we put in, like, if Borja ends up coming through this summer,
or Rigoni ends up playing striker a lot like he did at the end of last year.
oh man, we have to set like a second line of
that will
how
count
many games does he have to play striker for him to count into this
I
average?
have it as primarily plays striker. Do you want to set a limit? Like, should we say 3 games, 2 games, 3 games?
Yeah, I mean, but it's because Rigoni is an option there, but like Driussi would drop it if he plays a bunch of games there. Rigoni wouldn't drop it that much, and so I think like the exercise still stands in if they make another signing this year, will they be like? Is anybody good at math? How young do they need to be to give the under?
Not that young. They can be like
29 even, right?
29 or something like that, I think. Yeah.
I think the line is good still.
Okay.
Let's leave it. And then we're going to say they have to play 3
games to qualify into the average.
I think we should qualify that even further. And this is like not trash can minutes. Like they need to play like 60 minutes in a game.
I think someone like Will Bruin, who played a lot of trash can minutes, if they send Rigoni in as a striker a lot, like at the ends of games, I think that counts. I think it's total appearances in the striker position.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair because like ideally you would have a striker to throw on in those moments, right? So
I thought Will Bruin did an amazing job, and I was sad that he did not come back.
There's still time. There's still time.
Bring that average up even further. Let's go. All right, your picks.
Oh wait, okay. So I am going to say Borja would push it over.
Correct.
I'm going to take the over.
I'll take the under.
I think you're safe here, Jeremiah, because if Driussi ends up playing a bunch of games there, he would push it under easily. And I think there's a decent chance he plays at least a handful of games there.
Okay. This is more of some of these are like that one was like you really have to do some math on. Some of these are like, will X happen or will it not happen? And this is one of those. It is 3.5 DPs employed by Austin FC. We currently have 3 DPs. Will we, in some manner, end up losing one and and bringing in a 4th person? So total DPs across the course of the season employed by Austin FC.
I can't take opposite here. I'm gonna have to say over.
I'm gonna have to say over too. I agree. We can agree on this one.
If you would have asked,
change, you think?
Yes. If you had asked me a few months ago, I would have not taken this. But because of like the very like reputable places where the Borja reports were coming from, the Austin FC, it seems like did make a bid for Miguel Borja, who would definitely be a DP. It means that Austin FC believes that they can open a DP spot one way or another.
All right. And you both say over. Okay. All right. To that end, another Diego Rubio, but also related to this. And originally this was set at 3.5, and today I moved it to 2.5 because of the Rubio stuff, and I didn't know how. But maybe you guys can give me a little bit of sense. And the stuff that you put on your Slack about because I believe the guy said to you today, like, I told them to announce it on a Monday. for you. Right? So this is new player announcements on a Tuesday after Moon Tower records. 2.5.
2.5?
Yeah, I had it at 3.5, but now I think they're looking out for you.
And so on a Wednesday doesn't count towards
Well,
that.
no, like after, like the week after, like on a, like.
So we're going to say like Tuesday to Saturday or Tuesday to Friday.
Tuesday to Friday.
Tuesday to Friday, yeah. Especially Tuesday, Wednesday. Like that's like the sweet spot for me.
Yeah.
Your faith in the front office is looking out for you. How much?
None at all.
0.
Not even a little bit.
I'm gonna say over on this one because we've got those 2 senior spots. We've got the 5 or so supplemental spots. Some of these are gonna come on a Tuesday or a Wednesday for sure.
I agree. I'll go over this one too. By a fair amount, I think.
Also, the Moon Tower curse.
Yeah. Okay. By a fair amount. Really, Jeremiah. Do you guys want to move this line up? Back to 3.5 its original. Would you guys both still say 3 over on 3.5?
I would.
Yeah, I would still go over on 3.5.
I'll go 3.5. Let's make it let's really. All right. Would you say 4.5?
When the price is right, Marcelo.
I think if we go that high, we need
That's a lot.
We need to dial in what days count.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. 3.5 is good. Okay. I had this higher, and I really don't know what to expect here because of the like goal, like the Austin FC players with at least one regular season MLS goal was so high. So goals scored by players who are not on the Austin FC roster right now.
Oh, so this means new signings, second team players who are up on short-term loans. Anybody in that range counts. And what is our line here?
I have it currently at 6.5. I wonder if that's too low.
I think it's a good line,
especially with Borja.
Well, yeah. If we know that they might be looking for a striker, it might be a touch low. I think we could bump that line a little.
Well, except that you can't assume they're going to sign a striker, and if they don't, then that is a very high line. I feel like
we know that they want to sign a striker. Okay. Whether they will or not is a different thing. But also, there's just a lot of we also know there's like a defender possibly coming in the summer who would probably not contribute that many.
I had it at 8.5 originally.
But even if like Borja, like someone like Borja comes in and like 6 goals in the back half of a season is not bad. That's pretty good for a new addition.
0.5 isn't bad, but it's multiple players. So if you get Borja in, you get whoever you get for someone else, or you get like, even a defender who does a header.
Yeah. I think we should push it at least to 7.5.
7.5 sounds good to me. And therefore, what are your lines?
Jeremiah, my line is under, since I was arguing that 6.5 was good. So
okay, I'll go over. I'm happy with that. I have faith we're going to sign a prime attacking player this summer.
All right. Get my notes here. All right. This one I may eliminate it just because it was based on the open roster spots being a little bit higher, but you guys are saying it's going to be fewer than 3 or fewer. You think they're going to leave 3 spots open or whatever. So I had summer players signed, and my thought, and so I have it at 3.5 originally. But I'm curious about maybe they sign 3 people, fill out the roster, but then also get rid of some people, so they sign 4 people. I don't know, but maybe should it be 2.5 or something like that?
Yeah, I was gonna say 2.5 is probably a better line, but what you just said, if you account outgoing, which is very possible, I would almost say likely that there's outgoing either in this window or the next, outgoing Austin FC players and then replacing those guys. So
yeah, for me, it's the summer transfer window specifically. For this line.
Yeah. So maybe 3.5 is a good line.
Okay.
What do you think, Jeremiah?
It sounds good. I mean, I feel like I've been the one picking. What do you go, Landon? What do you feel like?
Players added in the summer window, 3.5.
Have we ever gotten 4 players added in a window? In the summer window?
No, but we've never had a Spanish sporting director who seems very intent on signing players from Europe.
That's fair.
I'll take the over. I'll take the over on this.
Wow.
And
I'll take the under.
I don't think I think it's going to be what you said though, Marcelo, that we're not going to have that many spots going in, but there will be more outgoing players making room for more coming in.
Optimistic Landon is out in full force. You can use that as a soundbite. Optimistic Landon. All right. This one we had last year. The line was way too high. I'm bringing it back this year. Players who make the roster, they don't have to see the field, but make the roster on both the first and the second team. All right. So last year we had Hippie, Valentin Noel, and I don't think Burton ever made a roster. He was called up at one, or like Rodriguez was called up, but not actually put on a roster. I think they were the 3.
That sounds right. I know there was like an emergency loan deal, at least one emergency loan deal that like didn't even actually make the game day.
As a player for U.S. Open Cup or Leagues Cup or one of those tournaments.
He was on like the preliminary roster, but never actually saw the bench.
Made a bench.
Or anything.
So this is players who make the bench at least on both the first and the team. There were 3 last year because Noel got some playing time, CJ and Kippy. So now it's 2.5 players who make the roster on both teams.
I think this is an easy over to the point that maybe we should look at. I think there will be more players from the first team playing down this year.
But while they play in the first team at some point as well?
Yes. I think there'll be like a lot of the guys who were candidates for this were guys who were draft picks, signed to first team contracts because we didn't have a second team, and then relegated to the second team permanently. I think the guys brought in now are going to be signed to be on the first team, and therefore will probably see the bench at some point, but will get most of their minutes with the second team.
You want to, Jeremiah? Do you think we should raise this?
No, I'll go under even with this where it is.
All right. Yeah, I remember that. It's interesting that you're saying that, Lana. That there's going to be people who make throws on both teams, but you also think that there will be fewer teenagers making the first team in any competition.
Yeah, I'm the people I'm thinking of are like supplemental roster spots who are brought in this window, who aren't making the bench every time for the first team, and therefore will get minutes with the second team.
Okay.
So more Kippies, and like Kip was the prime example.
That's what
right?
the fans want, more Kippies. That's what all the Austin FC community wants. Just 11.
Are you listening, Roto?
Yeah. All right. This one's another fun one. Just I had to throw in an FCito specific one. 3.5 PK shootout wins for FCito.
Wow.
What was the number last year?
It was around there, but they had like 7 or 8 like PK finishes. But
they lost quite a few for a stretch.
Lost quite a few.
Too.
They won 3.5.
You said the line's 3.5?
Yeah.
I'll take the over on that.
We don't have lots
take the over. Yeah, I'll take the over though. I'll take the over too.
Oh wow. Okay. I would have taken the under on this because of no loss. Right.
We're not guaranteed the keeper of the year this year.
Right. Who made that? All right. And finally, the big one on our minds here. Oh wait, I skipped one. Where'd it go? Oh, I'm sorry. This is not a problem. I like the 7.5 goal scored by. I wanted to give you some more information about the goal scored by players who are not on the roster. We set the line at 7.5, thinking, and you guys did over and under, and I like that. But I wanted to add that includes own goals by other teams scoring on themselves.
Wait, for which one?
Goals scored by players who are not currently on the Austin FC roster.
So if there's an own goal from the other team, that
Chiellini's own
counts.
goal counts. So I thought maybe to bring it back up to 8.5 for an own goal or two.
We could just not count own goals.
I like the comedy of it.
It is funny. You're right.
Let's include it. Let's keep the line 7.5 over under split. But I just want to throw in the wild card. It's going to count own goals.
I already took the over before, right? So I'm not changing.
Yeah, Landon took the over, so it's Jeremiah who's on the.
I'll stick with it. I don't like it's for the bit. I'm in.
The bit. I saw a meme once that said, "I'm committing to bits that you could not possibly understand."
Yeah.
That's another.
And maybe somebody who's on Austin's roster scores an own goal for another team later in the year.
That should deduct.
Don't make me track that. Okay, last one. Another will there. Well, actually, there's a little bit of a wild card to this. 2.5 head coaches employed by Austin FC, including FCito. There are currently 2 head coaches employed by Austin FC.
I thought you were saying we're going to fire Josh Wolf and then also fire his replacement.
Maybe Utley gets hired somewhere, gets pulled away for his great stewardship so head coaches employed by Austin FC. Currently, there are 2.
So to get the over, we only need one of them to leave.
Correct.
Ooh. I don't know. Jeremiah, I think I know which way you'll want to go. I'm going to take the under. Were you leaning over?
Interesting. I was leaning over, yes.
Yeah,
but I don't want to.
Under.
Let the hate flow
you
through.
You can take under too. You can take it.
No, I mean, I don't. No, I mean, you know the reason why I'm going over, and I don't want that to be true. That's what I'm saying. But I believe it to be over.
I would take the over with the wild card. Brett Utley gets hired somewhere. Gets poached.
I mean, that's very possible. We saw his assistant get a head coach job at Las Vegas Lights. Yeah. And so if his assistant's getting looks, I mean, I think he's got a bit more experience than Brett does in MLS circles, but you could very easily see a USL team or somebody coming after Brett Utley with as much success as he had in his first year as a head coach. So if he can replicate any bit of that this year, then yeah, it's a very real possibility.
Cool, because I that's why I wanted to put it in there, because I didn't want to just be like, will they keep Josh Wolf?
No, to say the Josh Wolf thing though, I think that it's also like pushing against this over is the fact that I'm not a person sitting here saying Josh Wolf's going to be in his job at the end of the season because we're going to have this big, amazing turnaround and everybody's going to see that they were wrong about him. I don't have a lot of faith in that part of it, but I do kind of believe that Rodolfo Borrell is being patient with his roster build. And yes, he's like, if this team is not going to be good this year anyway, then what's it matter who the coach is? Let's keep this guy who we're already going to be paying. We're going to pay him whether he's here or not. Let's keep him here until I'm done with my roster build. And maybe we pay him off 1 year, or maybe we see out through the end of that contract even. But I think he's going to be patient with that as he has been with his roster build.
Yeah, the deadline for this, is the end of the season. So the question is, do we get a mid-season?
So if Wolf gets fired in the offseason, it doesn't count.
That's what I'm thinking. Although we could say no, because we have to do the results right after the season.
Yeah, that's it. Just leave it at the end of the season. It works.
That makes me double down on my under then.
Does anyone want to take the Josh Wolf gets poached line?
No, this is not. No, that's not a concern here, at least.
All right. Do we want a tiebreaker?
I think we probably should, right?
Okay.
I mean, if not for us, then for listeners putting stuff in as well.
So the tiebreaker, it needs to be something like a specifically like estimate a number. Like, so it's a much more like specific, like estimate. Oh, I remember what it was. It was goals per game average.
Goals per game average. What was it I would like to know the last 2 seasons, honestly.
I found it on I found it. I found this. Hold on, let me look it up. This is from Footy Stats. And they said that in 2023, the team scored 1.44 goals per game. In 2022, the team scored 1.86 goals per game. And in 2021, the team scored 1.03 goals.
I forgot how bad that was. So we're going to do this like Price is Right style? Is it like
go over? But it is
close?
Who gets 2 decimal points. So take it to 2 decimal. It's going to be 1 point something, unless you really want to go 0 point or 2 point, but somewhere in there to 2 decimal points, and the closest person gets the tiebreaker in case you guys tie on your wins. Although I don't think it's going to happen because you guys got a lot of clash here. And we'll also use that for the other folks.
And because we can't go over, it's okay if we go over.
Okay, if you go over, whoever's closest.
We can guess before. We don't need to submit our things on a piece of paper or something.
You can guess now. Yeah,
I'm going to say... Yeah. So 1.44. I'm going to say 1.62.
Oh, wow.
We were so close. I was going to say 1.6. Wait, I'm going to change it now. Say 1.70.
1.70. Okay. Cool. I've got that written down. All right. Well, 1.7, 1.62. So we will see at the end of the season how we did. And
yes,
we'll see how our listeners did as well.
Yeah, as Marcelo mentioned earlier, this link will be in the show notes. We'll be posting it to socials and everything. But if you're listening to this now, the easiest thing is just go in the show notes and see if you can beat us. You're going to have the advantage of being able to do a little research and look some stuff up. We're doing this pretty blind. But we'll give a prize, or prizes plural maybe, to the winner at the end of the season. And we'll have Marcelo back to go over the results. Marcelo, thanks so much. I know you have somewhere to be, so apologies for going late, but thanks so much for doing this again. And it was fun as always, and I'm looking forward to and also terrified at you coming back and giving us the results.
One more thing about the form, it does ask for your email. It doesn't have to be like a verified whatever email, but that way we can just get a hold of you in case you win.
Perfect. Well, anything else, fellas, before we wrap up?
No, I'm looking forward to seeing how poorly we do.
Thanks for the clash, you guys. This is great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marcelo. All right, we want to thank Marcelo one more time for joining us. We're going to have that link in the show notes. See if you can do better than us. It probably won't be that hard, but... and we'll have a prize for the winner, like we mentioned in the game. We'd like to remind you to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Come find us on Twitter at LVHero87 and at JBentley_ATX. And then at Moon Tower Soccer on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And then check out the Patreon. Check out Phil West's Substack, verdeallday.substack.com. And then, we'll be back in a week with whatever else happens in between now and then. Until then, I'm Landon Cottom.
Jeremiah Bentley.
We'll catch you next time.
When no one is around.
Thank for nothing, see you never.
La gente. Oh my God.